Hi, this is Hannah with Heresy Cosmetics, and I'm going to show you how to get a full coverage base with mineral makeup. Now, the most important first step is having your right shade. A lot of mineral makeup companies only have 4 to 6 shades, and that's because mineral makeup is very forgiving when you're only putting on a light coverage. When you apply your makeup wet or when you put a heavy coverage on, you're going to need your exact color, and that's why Heresy Cosmetics does have so many different colors. That can make it a little more overwhelming when you're shopping for makeup, which is why we have foundation samples. You can get sample packs for less than $2 on heresycosmetics.com. Thank you for watching, and let's jump right in. So the first thing you're going to want to do is moisturize. Mineral makeup tends to stick to dry skin in patches, and it's hard to blend it out. It's good to have a nice smooth moisturized base when you put on mineral makeup. I'm going to be using Heresy Cosmetics Mango Balm. So first I'm just going to wet my skin just a little bit. My cheeks are my problem area. That's where it gets dry. So that's the only place I'm putting on moisturizer because I already moisturized this morning. And then I'm going to pick up just a tiny amount of Mango Balm and just rub that into the water that I have on my cheeks. And that'll give me a way smoother base on my cheeks, which tend to be dry. Now, if you're applying your mineral makeup dry, you're going to need to wait for the moisturizer to sink into your skin. But since we're doing wet today, we can go right into makeup. So brush is very important for applying wet. I like to use this kind of brush. It's flat on top and it's very dense in the bristles. This is great for dry or wet for doing a full coverage with mineral makeup. When you see mineral makeup brushes a lot in stores, they're like a big fluffy kind of powder-like brush. And for a long time I didn't like how mineral makeup looked, and I think it was because of those brushes. They're just too flexible to make any kind of blending possible, so I'd always end up with patches that had too much makeup and patches that didn't have enough makeup, and it just didn't work for me. So I'm just going to wet my brush in the sink, making sure all the bristles are nice and wet, and then I'm just going to squeeze out the water into the sink, making sure there's no more drips coming down, so the bristles are nice and damp now. I'm going to be using Heresy Cosmetics Foundation Full Coverage in the color Medium Yellow. So I'm just going to rotate this until I can see a few holes open and tap some into my lid. For a full face of makeup, I usually tap about that much into my lid. So I'll grab some with my brush. I usually start out with just one tap, just about that much on the brush. And we're going to kind of evaluate how we're placing our makeup. I have extremely red cheeks on both sides, mostly this side, and I also have a couple of spots today, so that's where I'm going to be focusing my coverage. So I'm going to start on my problem areas and kind of blend the rest into the rest of my skin. And if you feel that you have a patch that has too much makeup on it, you can easily, with this kind of brush, blend it into the rest of your cheek so you don't end up with a thick patch. Okay, so that's that cheek done. I'm going to go ahead and pick up some more on my brush and start on the other side. Okay, so my problem areas are done, and I'm just going to pick up a little more on my brush and finish up on the middle part of my face. And I do have enlarged pores, and I found that if you swirl the brush both ways, it actually covers the pores better and smooths them over better. If I just go this way on my nose, it doesn't quite cover the pores as much as if I also go this way. Now I do have wrinkles on my forehead. I have 2 big wrinkles up here that I've had since I was about 13. So I don't put makeup up there of any kind because it settles into those lines and makes me look older than I am. Thankfully I have good skin up here, so I don't really need that much makeup, and I just concentrate my foundation right here. Okay, now we have our initial base on, and we're going to kind of look at our skin and see where we might need more coverage. So this side is looking pretty good to me, maybe a little bit more coverage in here just so my blush will stand out more. And on this side, here and here. And the moisture I have in the brush will probably be sufficient for my whole face, but if you find that your brush starts to get dry and it's not really going on wet, you can re-wet your brush and squeeze it out again. So for the second layer, instead of swirling, I'm kind of tapping it on there because I don't want to disturb the first layer that I put on. So now we're going to concealer, and I'm going to be using Heresy Cosmetics Concealer in Light. For concealer, I like to use a domed eyeshadow brush. It's kind of the same concept as the mineral makeup brush. You want it to be able to blend really well, but I like the domed brushes because they're nice and soft for your eye area. So I'm going to open it up just a tiny bit and then tap it into my lid, just like with the foundation. And I really don't need much in my lid, just a tiny, tiny amount. So I'm going to pick up a little bit on my brush and put it just where I need it, where the spots that weren't covered by my foundation. So I'm seeing a few of my little spots here, and then of course under eyes. So that is my full coverage look done. You can see my skin still a little dewy from the moisturizer underneath, and I like how that looks. My redness is almost completely covered up. I don't like it to be totally covered up. I like my skin to show through just a little bit so it looks more believable. And I used a brush for this method, but you can totally use a beauty blender or any kind of beauty sponge. Just dampen it, squeeze out the water, and tap it into the makeup just like I did my brush. So here's the finished look in natural light. Thank you for watching, and you can check out heresycosmetics.com for all these products.